Let me tell y'all how I knew I was in labor. I went into labor on a Thursday morning. One of them mornings, okay? It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. My alarm had went off for school, and it was close to the end of the semester. Everybody knows that. It was like November 27th or so, or 28th. It was like the 28th. So whatever date that is, you guys can look that up. But anyway, I woke up with some really bad cramping, and I also had diarrhea. That's a sign of labor. But luckily I had an appointment that day. I missed school for the appointment instead of going to school because I didn't want to be in too much pain in class. And I went to class. I mean, not to class, I'm sorry. I stayed home for a while and I just laid down. And they weren't consistent. They were like off and on. So it was based off of the timing. So when I went to see my OB, she's like, yeah, you're having contractions. So she checked my uterus and everything, and she told me I was effaced, like really, really thin. Like my uterus is really, really thin, which means I was getting close to labor. So she asked me if I wanted her to mess with my membranes. I believe that's what she said. So she ended up messing with my membranes, and she said, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't go into labor today. Turns out, guys, I went into labor that day. The serious pain started maybe like 8 o'clock. I'm gonna say 8 o'clock. And I didn't start, you know, like, let me see this, please. Counting my contractions, not counting them, but timing my contractions until I had figured out that I was about 5 to 6 minutes apart. And I was in my parents' room, and I was going through so much pain. And my sister actually sent me a video, so I might actually insert that. Please excuse my clothing, okay? I was not prepared. So anyway, I wasn't allowed to go into the hospital until I was about 3 minutes apart for contractions. So I hit 4 minutes, and then I flew to 3 minutes, and then next thing you know, it was time to go. So I timed my contractions with an app. For all of you pregnant mommies out there, there are apps out of here that have contraction timers. I did not have my bag packed. Don't judge me. But I did have his bag packed. My bag was not packed. So I had to pack my bag, and I had to get all my stuff together. And my dad had the car seat and all of that, blah, blah. And I went to the hospital. And as soon as I got to the hospital, my contractions were a minute apart. Not every hospital has triage, but I had to go to triage. So I had to wait for a nurse to come get me for triage. So you're basically in the waiting room, waiting for them to come get you. It wasn't a long wait, but when you're having contractions, sis, it felt like a 30-minute wait. So I ended up like asking her to tell the nurse to hurry up because I was not having it. And then the nurse came and got me. She took me to triage where I think they took my blood. She was monitoring my contractions. She was monitoring the baby's heart rate, monitoring everything, literally. She asked me a few questions, like if I wanted an epidural and all of that stuff. Wow, it's really windy outside. And I think that was all that happened in there. So I was in triage for maybe about 5 to 10 minutes total. And then I had to wait. You have to wait for your room to be ready. I think that's what triage is. And then once you finish triage, you go into your regular room, which was actually a really nice room. Surprisingly, it was really nice. Really big room. I think I have a video of the room. If not, I'm sorry. Yes, I did get the epidural because this is my first baby and the pain was just not it for me. I have a low tolerance. So I got the epidural at 9 centimeters, which is tragic, but I have a reason. So when I got there, I was 5 centimeters, which I was 5 centimeters in triage. So yes, they do check your uterus. And when I got into my room, I flew to 9 centimeters. No, I flew to 8 centimeters. And then when the nurse checked me again, I was 9 centimeters. Anyway, so then She asked me if I wanted the epidural because I was already close. But the only thing is that I was like ready for birth. My body was ready for birth, but Elijah was not. That's when the real doctor came in after the epidural. The epidural did not hurt, you guys, because when you having contractions, nothing compares to that pain. They tell you to take a nap, but they come in there like every 30 minutes to an hour to check on you, so there is no sleeping. I probably got at least an hour of sleep. That's it. And I was excited, so it was just like sleeping not gonna happen. Anyway, so during that time period, the nurse came in. I mean, not the nurse, the doctor. Well, an OB came in. She checked me and she was like, "You're 9 centimeters and his head is getting a little low, so we're gonna give you a few minutes before we actually push." And I had a really good nurse, you guys. By the way, I went to Holy Cross, and she was really cool or whatever. So I pushed for 14 minutes, I believe it was 14 minutes, and then he came. I didn't have any like pain or anything. The only time I had pain was after he came out. That was when my epidural wore off. Another thing about the epidural is that I was actually only numb on one side because I was leaning on one side, so I had to get my epidural adjusted, and I ended up having to like turn side to side for it to weigh evenly. So you cannot feel your legs, i.e. you cannot get out of the bed, so you have to get a catheter. Just a heads up. Elijah came at about, oh my god, y'all, this is bad. I should know this, but I swear I still have pregnancy brain. Pregnancy brain is real. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. It's so real. Anyway, so he came in the afternoon. Had hemorrhaging. So that means that I was like bleeding a lot. And my blood pressure flew up really high. So I didn't get the chance to do the skin to skin. Only because of the fact that like they really had to work with me. I also did tear. For anybody who was wondering, I did tear. And yes, I did feel the stitches because my epidural wore off. So I felt all of that. The best thing I would say about after having the baby is that you really feel this giant relief once the placenta comes out. It's like you can breathe again. It's like a, all right, the placenta is out, and you like, oh yeah, that feels great. Like, yeah. But the only thing I say I hate is when they push on your lower, like where your uterus is. They push right there just to get all the bleeding out, to make sure that your uterus is getting smaller, because if they leave the bleeding in there, it could cause an infection. So that part hurts. I'm not gonna, that part hurts. It's so painful. That's like the most painful part that I had went through besides contractions. But anyway, other than that, I didn't have no serious problems. So they did diagnose me with preeclampsia in the hospital. So next baby, I do have to be very careful. Very careful, guys. I believe the second day, because when they diagnosed me with preeclampsia, my blood pressure was up, so I had to stay an extra day to get magnesium. And I couldn't have Elijah with me, so the nurses kept him in the NICU. And I was like really drowsy, so I slept a lot during that time. And I couldn't hold Elijah without somebody being in the room, and I couldn't have him by myself. Elijah went and got his circumcision, and when he came back, I was breastfeeding in the beginning, but he was so, like, I don't know what type of medicine he was on. They gave him a medicine for pain, and whatever it was, it kept him sleeping, so he wouldn't eat. So before he left, he was breastfeeding, but when he came back, he wouldn't tolerate it. Like, he didn't want to do it or anything like that. So I had to actually go through the night with him. By this time, we were in our room, in the room that they transfer you to. So I did spend the extra day in the birthing room, and then the day after that is the day I went to my actual room. They had to do it based off of if my blood pressure was low. He slept all, like, entirely through it. He would not wake up for anything. He would get really fussy if I woke him up, and he would be really upset So I would have to let him sleep. He wouldn't latch, and I couldn't, I didn't have a pump because I wasn't expecting to pump. So I had to wait till the next morning for the lactation nurse. And because they take the baby, every day at a certain time to check their vitals. And by the time the lactation nurse had came, Elijah still wasn't eating. And the nurse had actually came and got him to go take his vitals. Get your mouth off of that. So I ended up having to actually pump. And like I said, when I was going through that whole postpartum thing, I was depressed. So I did have postpartum depression. And the whole pumping thing was really hard because it was like I didn't want to do it, but I didn't want him to drink powdered milk. So I had to like push through it a lot of times, and I would wait until it was like the very last minute before I would go pump. And then I got to a point where my blood pressure was so high that I had to go see the doctor, and because it wouldn't go down, I had to keep my blood pressure monitored. So when I came home, I had to have like a blood pressure machine. I still have it. And I had to check my blood pressure every day and write it down in my notes to make sure that I had it documented. So when I went to go see the next doctor, she was telling me that my blood pressure was still high. So she put me on medications. And it was safe to breastfeed with the medication. So I was fine until like maybe like the third day. It started slowing my milk down, so I wasn't pumping as much milk as I was at first. I was getting more milk out of this side than I was this side. So I would get maybe 4 to 5 ounces out of this side, which was literally like just enough for him to drink. And I was getting like 2 ounces out of this side, so it wasn't enough. I wasn't pumping enough for him to drink. So I ended up going to get me some lactation cookies and going to get me some tea. I like tried everything to make my milk come back. It just wasn't coming back like as much as I wish it had. The only thing I would say that worked was the lactation cookies. I didn't get a chance to try the mother's milk. I did buy the mother's milk, but I didn't get a chance to try it. I think I drank it like one time, but I don't think I got any results because I wasn't drinking it regularly. So I ended up stopping breastfeeding because maybe around his 2nd month, I think my gallbladder went bad, so I had gallstones and I had to take more medication. That's another story. Postpartum pain is a 30. Like, I'm not gonna lie, postpartum pain is a 30-30, like a 30-30. Okay, a 30-30. Not no 30, it's 30-30. So anyway, I had problems. Well, I think it depends on if you have tearing or not. I had tearing, so my pain was a 30. But it could be different for any moms, because I have friends that had babies, but they say that their pain isn't as bad. But my pain was really, really bad. So I had trouble sitting. I had burning, and I actually, the stitches that I had actually keloided, so I had to get the keloid burned off. Y'all, it's so much. But I went through a time with postpartum. It was hard for me to sit. I had to sit really, 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 really slow because sitting was painful as ever. And I was tired all the time. I was exhausted. I was getting at least 3 hours of sleep every night. That's it. Because Elijah was up at least every 2 hours eating. I would say the only thing that's really bad about having a baby is postpartum. That's it. The beginning part is not as challenging, but everything after, woo child, woo, the struggle is real. I'll answer more personal questions. Excuse me, sir. Because every pregnancy is different. And I know that a lot of people will ask, like, oh, did you have this during your pregnancy? So if you have any questions, anybody that's pregnant, you can always ask. I don't mind answering. So thank you guys for watching my channel today. And thank you guys for watching me do 2 inches of my hair, because I really didn't get anywhere today. But maybe I'll do another day where I actually do my hair. But anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. And I shall see you guys next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment at the bottom. See ya!